I just scraped around 2,000 leads for restaurants in the UK at no cost at all, to completely for free, using no paid APIs, with email addresses and phone numbers, as you can see here. And in this video, I'm going to show you how. Okay, so here you can see the scraper running now in front of me. The scraper is made up by 3 workflows. So we have this runner that I call the runner here, and we have the iterator, and then we have the scraper workflow here that handles the actual scraping. So if you go over to the Google Sheet here, you see here it is populating the Google Sheet with new leads consisting of titles, website titles, URLs, email addresses, and phone numbers. And it is gradually adding leads to this Google Sheet. And we're now somewhere at 2,000 and something. And you see those red parts are duplicates. We're going to remove those at the end of the video very easily here. I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's go back now. And this is how it works. So it's split up into 3 workflows to make it more reliable. So the first one here, if you open this trigger node, you see here we have a list of all our queries. So in this case, I want to scrape UK for restaurants. So I have used ChatGPT to generate a list here with different cities in the UK, the biggest cities. And you see we have Leeds, Sheffield, etc. Now I could have added more cities. There is no limit to that. And then what it does here is it will iterate over all this list of leads, or not leads, this list of queries that consists of the cities and our keywords. So in this case, it's restaurants we're looking for, so restaurants. We have a wait node here to put a delay between each execution that would help to also avoid rate limits and things like that. There are also rate limits for Google Maps, but there's also rate limits for Google Sheets, actually, how many entries you can add to Google Sheets per minute. So we want to avoid that. And then we execute the workflow here. This will execute the iterator workflow. So here's the iterator workflow. What this iterator workflow does is, first we have this here, that generates for that specific region it is at the moment. So it's iterating. Let's say now it's at the query for London. Then here it will use this AI in this prompt to generate a list for London, subregions of London. So we'll get a combination of queries for subregions of London. That way we can scrape much deeper and get much more results. And the reason is that when you use a query on Google Maps, you will only get a certain amount of results, no matter how big the area you're querying for. So if it's London or just a sub-area of London, you will still get the same amount of results. So for that reason, we have to dig deeper here and generate subregions for each of the regions we want to scrape. And then here we have, now this here is deactivated. This is just for testing purposes. I set the limit. You can set the limit here if you don't want to scrape too much data. So I'm going to remove this. This is totally unnecessary. All right. And then for each of these queries that we get here, it will loop over again. And we also have a delay here for the same purposes to avoid rate limits. And then it will execute the actual scraper for that query. So let's say we had the initial here. We're at the initial one, which is, let's say, London restaurant. Then here we will have a list of subregions of London, maybe, let's say, I don't know, South London, East London. So here it will execute restaurant, the query restaurant East London. And then here in the scraper, it will receive that query here and it will start the scraping process. So this is how the scraping process works. First, we will use the query. Here, we will add it append it here at the end of this URL, and we will get a complete query, and it will then make the search just like here. You see, here is for Allerton, and we will get the list here, or these results. And then after getting those results as HTML, we will scrape all the URLs from the HTML page using this node here, this code node. And then we will go over using the filter node here to filter away irrelevant URLs, because most of the URLs will be irrelevant, will be Google things like you see schema, ggph, gstatic, stuff like that. So we'll filter away those, and you can also add your own filters here. If you notice that there are some kind of URLs that don't make sense to you, you can also add them here easily by just using a pipe character like this one, and then add the text that you want to be used as a filter. So in this case, anything that ends with imlay.com, I want to filter that away, or consists of imlay.com. and I'm using a slash here before the dot because this is a regular expression, so that it interprets the dot here as an actual dot. Otherwise, it will interpret it as something else, as regular expressions do. Okay, and then we will remove the duplicate URLs here so we don't have duplicates, and then we will loop over all of the URLs here, and we will request the web page HTML for each URL, and that way we'll get the actual website, not just the results in Google, but we'll get the actual website of the result. And then we will scrape that HTML of that website, of the actual business website here. You see, we'll use this code here to scrape that, and then we will get emails, and we will get the title, HTML, page HTML, emails, and phone numbers. And after that, I've added an extra code node here to also go inside the object and clean up the email. So for each, how should I say, for each business that we scraped, it might have multiple emails, sometimes duplicates. So we will remove those duplicates inside that object for that website. And after that, we remove general duplicate entries. And at the last step, they will be saved here to Google Sheets. If you go back to the Google Sheet now, you should see that we've probably received more results here. So if you scrape down, you see we probably, where are we? Something 2000 plus. Yeah, so we have received more results here, and we'll keep populating it with results. Now let's go back here and show you a few other things. So if you want to see what's happening, you will see this. You can see it in the front here, but for the other workflows, you will see them execute in the background by clicking on this execution tab. It's gonna auto refresh here. Let's see here. Okay, it didn't want to auto refresh now, but you should see all the executions here. Let's try with the scraper. We should be able to see those executions at least. Okay, I don't know what's happening now. This is really weird, but normally you should see all the executions here, and you'll be able to click into each one and see each workflow executing. Because it is still working here, as you can see, and it's starting executions. So, okay, this is weird. I'm gonna fast forward the video now, so I'm gonna show you the end results when it's finished and the results we actually got. All right, the scraping hasn't finished yet, but I just wanted to show you now how this works in the background because these popped up again. They just disappeared before, I don't know why. So here they are. So you can see how here are the different scraping flows. They are working here in the background. You see this running, they're working. And then you have all that are succeeded here. You can check them out. If you click on one, it should now load. And here you can see the different outputs and inputs. So here it was Tunstall restaurant. And then ultimately we ended up with 19 items, this forlong.com, and etc. A lot of other things here, you know, Highland oat cakes, etc. And then they are added to the Google Sheets. You can see each scraping execution here, and then you see the rest that are running here. And these are for one certain iteration, like one certain execution of the iterator. You see we only have one running here at a time, and you can see the previous ones that executed or finished. So if you click on this, for example, let's see what this is. This is here for Stoke-on-Trent. And if you go to the runner here, you will see that we have Stoke-on-Trent here on the list. So we're Stoke-on-Trent. It is, it's on the second page, I guess. So Stoke-on-Trent here. So that's for Stoke-on-Trent. It finished there. This iterator generated, as you can see here, 31 subqueries of Stoke-on-Trent. So Abbey Hulton, Bentley, Birches Head, Blurton, all of these are subregions of Stoke-on-Trent. And then it executed multiple scraper workflows, one for each of those subregions. And you can check them out down here and so on. All right, now we're gonna wait until everything finishes, and then I'm gonna show you the ultimate results when this is all finished. Now it has finished scraping, and we received around 3,000 entries here for restaurants around the UK. Now I have not added all cities to the list, so we could have reached much more or received much more entries if we had a longer list and also had lists of smaller regions than like a big city as London, we could just divide that into smaller sections of London and so on to get more results. But anyway, let's go up here to the top now and remove all the duplicates. To do that, I'm going to click here and then just deselect this title part, and then go over to data cleanup, and click on remove duplicates. And here I'm going to deselect everything and just select column B, which is the URLs. That is what we want to use to check for duplicates, and click on remove duplicates here. And it says 980 duplicate rows found and removed, and we were left with 1,980 unique rows here, I guess. So let's see here. Yeah, 1,931 unique rows. Now, one thing I want to note here is that these phone numbers you see, not all of them are correct. In some cases, you have plenty of phone numbers for one website because they might have multiple regions or the different parts of the city where they exist, these restaurants. But in some cases, those numbers are just other things. They're not really for the business. They just popped up in their website or in the like HTML of their website for some reason. So you need to take these numbers with a pinch of salt, so to say. But anyway, so these are around 2,000 instances we scraped here, or entries we scraped, and yeah, depending on how many regions you add here, you can get much more. And also, if you focus on making smaller regions and more regions, you can scrape much more data. So that's it for this video. This is how you can scrape unlimited amount of leads at no cost at all, anywhere in the world, for any kind of business. So if you'd like to get the scraper, there's a link in the description below. And that's it for me. Until next time, take care.